art exhibit curator Sue Williamson is joining me in studio. Now she's going to introduce us to her latest exhibit called There's Something I Must Tell You. Now this is being featured at the Iziko Slave Lodge. Hello.
Hello Jennifer, it's nice to be here.
It's nice to have you here. Now I'm very excited to hear about your latest exhibit. It's called There's Something I Must Tell You. Why don't you introduce us to that?
Well, it's an exhibition which is on the subject of women who've been struggling against apartheid for the last 30 years, and also about the relationship between the veteran women who struggled and their granddaughters, the young women of today who were born after apartheid was over, and their feelings.
Now, what inspired this exhibition for you?
I did a series of portraits in the 1980s, which is part of the exhibition. It's called A Few South Africans, and there are portraits of women like Albertina Sisulu, Winnie Mandela, Amina Kachalia, and there are 17 in the series altogether. And these became quite well known. These postcards were made from them, and they became very widely distributed. And a couple of years ago I was thinking that it was now nearly 20 years into democracy, and I wondered, how did those people who struggled so hard, how were they feeling now about South Africa? Did they feel that all the hardships they'd gone through, the sacrifices, if it had all been worth it? Or did they feel disillusioned? And what did young people today think? Did they feel that the sacrifice had been worth it? Did they feel that their grandparents had fought hard enough? What were their wishes? Did they want to stay in this country? Were they committed to staying here, or did they think it would be more interesting to leave and live somewhere else? So with all of these questions, I thought of the format of setting up dialogues between some of those grandmothers and their granddaughters, and just seeing where that went. And so the main piece in the exhibition is a video installation. It's called There's Something I Must Tell You. The show takes the title from that one work. And it's a series of conversations between grandmothers like Amina Kachalia, Brigalia Bam, Vesta Smith, Ilse Fisher, and their granddaughters or young female relatives, in which they're talking partly about their history, but they're also sort of talking about the young people of today. And by contrast, the younger women are telling what they know. They very often don't quite know everything about their grandmothers. You know, it's not the sort of thing that you talk about when you sit down at the table for Sunday lunch, family lunch around the table. You're not talking about the past. So there's actually quite a lot they don't know about their own family history. And then it's also about what that family history means to them as young women, what sort of standards has it set for them.
Now that sounds very powerful. When you were putting this together, doing your research and setting up these dialogues, were you surprised by anything that came out of that?
I was surprised. I really didn't quite know what was going to come out. But what I found was that the younger women were all very committed to staying in the end. They recognized the problems that we have at the moment, but they really believed in this country. And by the same token, even the young women who were saying, well, their elders were saying they were fighting for freedom and for everybody's human rights, and the younger people were saying, well, what they wanted was a house and a car and whatever. The older women went along with that. They thought that was, you know, the times have changed. And
yeah. Wow. Now, what were the conversations that the older women were having? Were they disillusioned? Were they still, did they still feel that empowerment?
I think they did still feel that. For instance, Ilse Fisher said that, of course, you know, one would wish for a more socialist country, that it was a little bit disappointing in a way, the way that greed had taken over, but that at the same time one can't expect things to, you know, there were no miracles when it came to working towards the changes, really. It's very hard work. And yeah, so
now
she remains optimistic.
It sounds like a very relevant piece, seeing that Women's Day is on Saturday. Is the Slave Lodge, the Iziko Slave Lodge, doing anything else around Women's Day?
Well, they are. They're having a special program which starts, I think you can register at 10, and then I'm going to do a walkabout at 10:30. And then there's also going to, what we did in the front room of the Ezekiel Slave Lodge is they're just white spaces, like pages on a wall. And I've written Remembering Our Grandmothers, and people have started writing up on these walls what their grandmothers mean to them. So people will be invited to write some more of these memories. People have written amazing things already. I'm just amazed at what people have come up with.
Wow, now how long is the exhibit going to be at the Ezekiel Slave Lodge for?
Well, it's up for a long time. It's up for a whole year, in fact,
Okay.
because once they mount an exhibition, they keep it up.
Well, thank you so much, Sue, for coming in and sharing that with us. If you would like to see the There's Something I Must Tell You exhibit, you can see it at the Ezekiel Slave Lodge, and that's at the top of Adderley Street in Cape Town.